We finally have a resolution to the Jonathan Kuminga situation, and we end up pretty similar to where we could have been months ago. This has been a months-long stalemate. There have been a lot of negotiations back and forth, and we ended up in a very weird and confusing place. So the number one thing that Kuminga and the Warriors have been disagreeing on for months was a team option on Jonathan Kuminga's second year of this contract. He's a restricted free agent right now. There's not a huge market for him because teams don't have the money, but he's worth more than what teams have available. So the Warriors have to offer him a certain amount, but they know they have a bunch of leverage, and they were using that leverage to never ever waver on a team option on the second year of Jonathan Kuminga's contract. And obviously the team option was such a big deal to each side because if Kuminga has a great year, he wants to be able to go into unrestricted free agency next year, at least have the opportunity to, whether it be off of a one-year deal or a player option. He wanted to have that ability so that he could cash in on unrestricted free agency next summer rather than restricted free agency this offseason, where the Warriors want the exact opposite. If Kuminga has a great season, they want to be able to opt him back in with the team option next year so that they can keep him on a cheaper number. And if he has a bad season, they want to be able to just kind of let him go, possibly trade him, whatever the case may be. And the conclusion that we have reached is there's a team option on Jonathan Kuminga's contract. Now, it's a little bit weird and confusing because amongst the options here for Kuminga was signing the qualifying offer, which would have been a one-year deal, get him into unrestricted free agency next year. But the problem with that one for Kuminga was he would be taking significantly less money than the $24 million he's going to be getting paid this upcoming season. And the other problem was if he signs the qualifying offer, he's ineligible to be traded. So essentially, the reporting around this, I'm very skeptical of this, by the way, but the reporting around this is that the Warriors are saying the team option is there so that you aren't on the qualifying offer, you get more money this year, you're eligible to be traded in the middle of the year rather than being ineligible to be traded for the entirety of the season, and the team option exists so that that could be the case. And when we get to next off season, we are going to decline the team option no matter what, and then we are going to renegotiate your deal. That all sounds fine, but the Warriors still have the option if 9 months from now we get to the offseason, Kuminga has an awesome year, they can just accept the team option, keep him on the $24 million. It doesn't matter what they say right now. It doesn't matter that they say, oh, well, we promise we're going to rip up the contract and renegotiate. NBA organizations are not in the business of doing players favors to that extent. If it is beneficial to them to accept the team option and then do something else, that's what they're going to do. So it's a very strange situation to me. Frankly, I'm shocked that this is the conclusion that it's come to, and that after months of negotiation, they just ended up taking the team option anyway. They didn't do the qualifying offer. They didn't do a longer deal. They didn't secure him really that much more money compared to what the Warriors initially offered him. And all it did was create a very weird situation around Kuminga and the team. And I'm very interested to now see how this impacts the Warriors season moving forward. Is Kuminga not going to have a great year because he wasn't that involved with the team? This is definitely an organization that has had a history, whether it be with Draymond, whether it be with Jordan Poole, whether it be with Kevin Durant, of having some weird vibes around the team negatively impacting the season. And that is definitely a concern now with Kuminga. Like, yes, he's on the team. That's a positive. Yes, he can be traded before the trade deadline if that's the way things work out for the Warriors. That's a big goal of theirs, is to have this trade piece this year and next offseason. That's all positive, but the road it took to get there is definitely not. And the number one thing I come back to, apart from the team option and the player option and all the negotiation, is I don't understand how the Warriors weren't more interested in a sign and trade scenario throughout this entire situation. I can understand the leverage that they had. I can understand the team option. I can understand the fact they want to keep him as a trade piece potentially long term. But the offer on the table of Kuminga plus some salary in exchange for Malik Monk and a first round pick, I've said this in previous videos, I'm taking that right now if I'm the Warriors. Malik Monk is good, provides you a shooter. They need other guys that can create. It's not like they're 100% good on backcourt guys that can create. They need a player like that. They need more spacing. They need more shooting. And you get a first-round pick from the Kings. I don't really understand how that wasn't the conclusion to this situation, apart from the Warriors thinking Kuminga's worth more than that. They think he has the possibility to develop into some kind of star or something in Golden State. And ultimately, if it was up to me, that's the path that I would have gone down. I would have traded him from Malik Monk in a first, along with some salary, and I would have called it a day. And this would have been done 2 months ago. That's obviously not how the situation ended up, and sets up a season now for the Warriors where at least they do have a roster. That was a big concern throughout this entire deal, was like, they're starting training camp and they've got 8 guys under contract. Now all of a sudden Seth Curry is there, and Big Al is there, and DeAnthony Melton is there, and a couple of other pieces, guys that have been rumored to be signing with the team the entire offseason, but they couldn't do it until they got the Kuminga situation figured out. So at least now they have Kuminga on a deal, locked in. They know what their roster is going to be looking like this season. But this is a very dangerous situation for the Warriors to be in, because as we've talked about in previous videos with them, this is a 2-year window. You've got Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler all on contracts for the next 2 seasons. They're all obviously getting older. You've got this year and one more to try and eke out some form of contention with those 3 guys, and to use the entirety of an offseason trying to figure out this Kuminga situation in one of the only 2 seasons you have left of these guys all potentially being good makes me very nervous. It makes me especially nervous considering this is a roster that, yes, in the postseason is potentially going to be a threat. They are full of what people call 16-game players, right? You need to win 4 series, best of 7. You need to win 4 games times 4, 16 to win the title. Draymond is a 16-game player. Jimmy Butler is a 16-game player. Steph Curry at this point is kind of teetering at this point in his career to being a 16-game player. They don't really have a lot of 82-game players on this team, and Kuminga potentially would have been one of them. And not only did they jeopardize that throughout the offseason, but potentially jeopardized it even though he's still on the roster, given how weird the offseason was with Kuminga. I frankly am shocked that this is where we ended up. Over the last couple of weeks, when it became clear that they were going to be adding the free agents that were rumored throughout the offseason, I was thinking, okay, they figured out a sign and trade. They finally figured out that this is the correct decision, that him going to Sacramento was the right move, that the situation has just gotten too contentious. You move on from Kuminga, you get some of these assets, and then you're allowed to move forward. And the fact that not only is that not what happened, but Kuminga didn't get a 3-year deal, he didn't get a player option, he didn't sign the qualifying offer, but he signed a deal with a, hey, we promise we're going to turn down the team option. That to me is absolutely crazy. Now, very well this season, Kuminga could have an awesome year. They rip up the contract next offseason, and this time next year, Jonathan Kuminga is making $35 million a year, and he's the future of the Golden State Warriors. That's absolutely possible. It's also possible that he's terrible. The vibes are atrocious. His trade value is even lower in the middle of the year than it was even with this Kings possible sign and trade. And it's also possible that they don't even trade Jonathan Kuminga at any point. He has a bad year, and then he's just on, the Pistons or the Hornets or someone next year making $12 million a year on the middle-level exception. None of this, to me, was the right path forward. This doesn't help the Warriors. It doesn't help Kuminga. And there were about 10 different ways in which this could have gone differently, and it would have worked out better for both sides. But to wait 3 months, still have the team option on there, hurts everyone involved, and I can't believe that this is where we ended up.